with the first presentation by Margaret Anderson, that she talked about defining the problem. We realized that 94% of the world's student population was affected by the COVID and the pandemic, and we're expecting an increase by 25% of the children that have been below in proficiency levels. So learning quality will increase, and with the most disadvantaged children and youth facing the largest learning deficits. She's using a very nicely structured approach for how we can improve learning and equity in education with three pillars: parental engagement, when you shift business as usual, instruction, education, technology. What we see in parental engagement is that we're giving parents actionable guidance on how to be involved in their children's education, increase learning. So what we have to do is we have to train the parents. We have to properly involve them. They were in the classroom during the pandemic and during online learning. Parents were in the classroom. They were from home. They were watching what's happening in every classroom. So we cannot leave them out now. We must engage parents more. We must realize that during online learning they were there, so we have to keep them. Have them as allies. Sometimes it might be difficult, but it is very important that we can increase learning by having the parents as allies to this approach. And we also must systematically inform the parents about their child performance, because it's proven that this increases learning. Shifting to business as usual instruction is something that we understand it's not a matter of quantity, it's a matter of quality. Every time we add something, we must accompany it with a change in pedagogy and support it with the right pedagogical software. And tailoring instruction in learning levels is the most cost-effective way to improve foundational skills. It was said very clearly, it's not that we have to put it at egg, it's how we use technology education in order to incorporate it in the classroom. Tony Wan made the presentation about the new virtual reality in education. And it was a very strong statement when he said that it was the biggest experiment in education when everybody went online in just 24 hours. It was not a strategy. It was not something that was designed and was just getting ready to prepare. It was something that was forced by the pandemic. And we learned a lot of things from that great experiment that we must very much study and fundamentally shape the future of teaching and learning. Many turn to existing platforms to keep it instruction going and using digital tools that already existed. Some other ones started creating new activities. It was easy to use activities that already was translated online, but it was much more difficult when you have to design something new, something different, especially for the younger ages. And the most difficult part was to keep students engaged. It was really difficult. Mental wellness suffered significantly, and teacher burnout, stress went through the roof. But technology also enabled vital human connections and social experiences working against the lockdown emotions, because even though people were at home, by using technology, they had the opportunity to connect, communicate, and exchange experiences and ideas, and also discuss about what they had, not just for schooling, but also for their lifestyle. As COVID continues, we have to see how students and families will react. We have a different attitude. Now, more and more students, families want and will have more options for how, when, and where they learn. Families want remote learning as an option. They don't want it to get vanished. And for some students, remote instruction works better and helps them connect with their peers for education reasons. And teachers feel also better now because they feel more equipped to teach effectively with technology. Many schools are already making live online support available to all students with different kinds of scenarios. And in higher education, we see that it will expand the quality of learning, but also connect better to new economic opportunities. Traditional colleges and students are turning to third-party online courses to make more and more online programs. But we still see a big mismatch between what universities teach and what kind of employees businesses are looking for. Moving on to Dr. Saverda's presentation, it was really astonishing when we saw that, before the pandemic, we had 53% that could not really understand a simple text by the age of 10. And this is growing. Learning poverty is going down in a very small pace. And there is a morally and financial, this is morally and financially unacceptable. The pandemic increased the learning poverty and can become the worst education crisis if we don't act fast and accurate. It was really interesting, this chart that Dr. Saveta presented with all these numbers that really makes us think more and more how fast we must act, how accurate we have to be in the policies governments will have to take in order to be able to not have this pandemic be the worst crisis in the century. This generation is experiencing large learning losses. 60% higher losses on students with families with lower educational backgrounds and low income. Much larger losses in younger ages. We all know that how difficult it is to have, pre-K and primary students, early primary year students going online. So what does this create? We have to find ways to close the digital divide. We also realized by the pandemic that education is a social phenomenon and learning is a social activity. So we need a balance between technology and the human factor. And we also have to understand that parents have a key role in their kids' learning, so governments must provide policies to support parents and also strengthen the home environment. We must accelerate learning recovery, so this generation will not have a permanent scar. It was very clearly said, and we need to implement a complete strategy in every country and every school. This chart presented by Mark East is really very interesting. Technology is our main tool in the new era and can be a big help in designing and creating a complete learning environment for our students, their teachers, and also their parents. This chart presents very useful tools that help us understand what each stakeholder must and should do in order to support a good learning environment. And you can imagine how we can connect all these different tasks and create different kind of activities. It is a very dynamic environment, and if we can connect that, I'm sure that the learning outcome will be very productive and very strong. We also saw how COVID-19, through this World Economic Forum numbers and presentation and research, has said some things that they are very clear now. Blended learning and working environments, it's going to be a blended scenario. We'll never go back to what was happening before the pandemic. And the COVID-19 pandemic busted the myth that working from home is not training, and training on home is not practical or effective. It can be practical and it can be effective. But we're going very fast to something that I believe is very important and very good for our students. Personalized solutions and going away from the one-size-fits-all educational model. By using technology, we can create really personalized learning. We see here how the plus and minuses of online learning. We see the red ones and the blue ones. But I was struck by the 93% of students who believe that digital learning is useful. And I believe that students always say the truth, and from students we can get the best outcome because they're the best judges. Store priorities for the school leaders to increase technology skills and digital skills, develop more methods and tools, and also the most important, 69% say we'll pay more attention to developing social and emotional skills. Andrea was once again amazing. I was so happy, the winner of the Global Teacher Award of 2018. I was very happy because I was there. I was during the conference there, during the global conference, and I saw it live. And the day before, the night before, actually, I was with her parents and we're discussing and saying we're gonna win. And I was really proud, you know, as a Greek, having Andrea to win. And as always, she's so inspirational, and she gives us those very strong messages about what is great teaching. You know, we make and we support people, creating a place of fairness for conversation and address students' concerns. Be close to our students. It's not a matter of math and geometry and language or physics or whatever. It's being close to your student, supporting them, nurture by having a sixth sense. I really like this sixth sense approach. And even though we understand that we have teachers under pressure, leaving the profession, and not, from what I know, there are many countries around the world looking for teachers. So what do we need to do? I believe that the list that Andrea gave is really powerful. We need a brave leadership that will be supporting, coaching the teachers. We need to have a community. We need to have teachers connect outside the school. Strong professional development, networks, opportunities to be creative, and the resources and the motivation, the way we support our teachers. Teachers are the most important people for the society and the advantage we need from our society. They are a major piece of a very important puzzle. And that's why we should have the teaching profession on a very high appreciation standard. And she gave also some very nice points about what we should do. We should, first of all, make sure that we keep our schools open. And teaching is an adaptive art form and must be agile as teachers and creative. We must never forget that our students are all equal. And we support them by being happy, joyful, and becoming good people with empathy. And I kept this also by William Arthur Ward that Andrea mentioned, which is really strong. The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, but the great teacher inspires. Inspiring is really the word that was left behind from Andrea's presentation very strongly. And then Natalie Wexler, she came, bringing the science of learning and how we can help narrow achievement gaps by using the teaching cognitive load theory, and how the working memory and the long-term memory work, and how we do these transfers and these retrievals. How quizzing students can really help on that. I really like the Velcro concept, and how when a student does not know much about a topic, you have to be explicit. And using storytelling and different kind of teaching methods, you can really help him in order to understand better. In order to boost learning, students need to acquire as much academic knowledge as possible, and schools should build academic knowledge in the earliest years. And in order to boost literature, we need to connect listening, speaking, reading, and writing, because listening and speaking build the knowledge that fuels reading and writing. A knowledge-building curriculum that begins early is our best hope for unlocking the full potential of all students and achieving educational fairness. That was her main point, and I really believe on that, and I really support it. Dear participants, Sophia envisions a world where education, through its continuous involvement and transformation, will support every student to achieve her dreams and goals. In order to achieve this, you must first know where you stand and where you want to be in the next months or years. Sophia is an NGO that supports schools all over the world on their endeavor to become better, is donating to the world of education, to the community, to the education community. It's very efficient and a useful tool, the school self-assessment, that helps every school leader and principal to easily measure its school performance on every area of the school, and by prioritizing its future goals, find concrete actions that help them evolve. It's yours to use it. We're here for you to and we can support you on the use of this tool. And we hope that your road to excellence will be a road full of nice and dynamic and creative activities. I thank very much all of our speakers and also our great presenter. I thank all of you for attending. Stay safe, and we'll see you next year in Bridge the Gap 2022. Thank you very much.